All right, Miami Dolphins 42, Carolina Panthers 21. Dolphins move to 5-1. Panthers fall to 0-6. This one did not start as expected. Dolphins were about 2-touchdown favorites, which didn't seem crazy, but the Panthers get up 14-0 pretty quickly. And this was coming off a week where we hear the players speak all the time. Players we're gonna play to my strengths. We're gonna play faster. And those were the words coming out of Carolina this week for Bryce Young. Going to play to his strengths. And early on, it was the best he'd looked. Looked sharp, crisp. Ball was coming out quicker, a little more zip. It looked more confident. I don't want to throw away the entire game because it wasn't just early. I thought overall it was another small step in the right direction for Bryce Young, despite the 3-touchdown loss for the Panthers.
Small step, huh?
Yeah. I've said baby steps for Bryce Young about 5 straight shows, so I tried to mix it up. Small steps.
Yeah, I mean, any of them appear to be puntastic.
There was also, because you just get enamored by either super large people or really small people, right? It's a thing. That and billionaires. Imagine like an oversized billionaire or an undersized billionaire. I mean, you're going to write a book about that guy. It did look like the Bryce Young being small, like the times that he got hit, he was getting crushed.
It's terrifying.
Engulfed. It felt like every time I look up, he's getting engulfed. But he hung in there, and I thought he played a solid game.
Every time he gets hit, it's like that Alex Smith, Aaron Donald play where you just like, don't hurt him. Leave him alone. Stop bullying the poor guy. It's amazing. Like, he looks like it's amazing he gets out of those plays. He gets up again, goes walking back to the huddle. No, this was the best game I think he's played. Now, that should sort of show you where they've been, that the best game he's played, I think, by a distance, ended up in 217 passing yards, 1 touchdown at an average at 5.7 yards per attempt. Like, those aren't good numbers. And yet, that is the best he's looked, I think, in the NFL. So, we've got a way to go before the Bryce Young thing is working. But I think we've sort of known for a while, because of this Carolina team, you're not going to get a fair evaluation on Bryce Young given what's around him. Now, that doesn't mean it can't function with any quarterback. We saw Andy Dalton comes in and shows, look, a guy that's been in the league for 15 years can make this work and at least look okay, but it's not good enough that a young quarterback that is stepping into the league for the first time can make it work right out of the gate. It's going to take some time. But like I did this, I was just curious, how many times since PFF has been doing this, through 5 weeks, has the best quarterback from a draft class look like the best quarterback from the draft class, right? And how many times has it been somebody else? And, were you taking your information from those first 5 weeks? How badly would you have been led astray? By my count, 13 times it's been a different quarterback that's looked like the best guy through the first 5 weeks, right?
Out of about how many?
Since 2006. So what's that, 18?
Wow.
Now,
so you're saying the initial impressions, of which we always tend to react.
Yes.
Right? Oh, I missed this, or I was right about this, or I was wrong about that. You're saying 13 out of about, 18 times?
Yeah. Now, there's also like how many of those? 17 times. I'm not counting this year yet.
Oh, yeah, 17. Yeah.
So then there's also like how many of those were clear? Sometimes this guy was the best, but it was close. Nobody was really standing out. Like, then it's like how obvious was it that one guy was better than the other guy? And that that takes a few of them out there as well. But there's quite a lot where it was pretty freaking obvious. Like, through 5 weeks, nobody was playing well, but Matthew Stafford was the worst quarterback from his draft class. Remember, his rookie season was atrocious.
Yeah.
And then, like, now, the idea of who was better, Mark Sanchez or Matthew Stafford, it's a joke. So, anyway, the Bryce Young right now looks like the worst of the rookie quarterbacks from his class. Like, he was worse than Richardson, way worse than Stroud. I'm just saying we don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Bryce Young's in a rough situation, has been playing badly, it's not working. But we've seen way too many quarterbacks to be like, there's no way Bryce Young's going to come good.
That's what we do here on the PFF NFL podcast. 6 weeks in, we pump the brakes on overanalyzing this stuff. And I'm just telling you, we're seeing, some improvement, at least some improvement there from Bryce Young. It's another game where there'll be a not-so-great pass blocking grade for Carolina. credit the Dolphins, though, man. They withstood the early onslaught and then, onslaught of their own.
Well, they got nothing going for a while, and then the offense, caught fire. And once it catches fire, there's not an awful lot you can do about it.
Yeah, I mean, Tyreek Hill, another, getting behind the defense for a long touchdown. Tua, a few big-time throws in there, did a really nice job getting the ball down the field. Remember last week, again, this is moves week to week. Tua had a really good statistical game last week, but he kept throwing the ball to the defense, including a pick six that kept the Giants into it. He played a much cleaner game this week. Got the ball to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill over 150 yards in 4 out of 6 games this year.
So, a lot of people talk about Tyreek Hill being clearly the fastest player in the NFL. And you're like, is he even faster than, these other guys on the Dolphins that run 4.3? Dante Jackson, I think it was for his touchdown, right, where he did the backflip with the phone and, was going to get fined for that. He smoked Dante Jackson on just like a straight, I'm going to run past you thing. Dante Jackson runs a 4.32. Like, he absolutely dusted a dude that runs 4.32. It's like, that's not, if you run a 4.3 flat, you're not in that Tyreek Hill's league. We're talking a different level of speed. I don't care what his measured 40 is. This guy can absolutely smoke people that run 4.3 flat.
It's because he has speed. It doesn't matter what the 40 is. I think it's Tyreek Hill's speed is elite at every stage.
Yes.
Right? Some guys are good accelerators. Some guys have a good second gear, third gear. He's good at all the gears. Mm-hmm. So when he accelerates, you know this though. I mean, it's not as simple as saying, well, he ran by the 4.3 guy. Because if he wins he wins off the line of scrimmage, if he wins early, the other guys, more flat-footed, it's not an even race, so to speak. It's the Tyreek Hill's sudden, dynamic, and there have been other 4.3, 4.2 type of receivers, but he's also quick, right? You usually don't have the deceleration ability. He has the deceleration ability. And look, Tyreek Hill just looks like he's playing a different game sometimes. With the way he plays. Even just like catching a dig route, and he's just like, I'm just going to lose ground to gain ground. Right. When he pulled up with the cramping issue. I'm just going to lose ground to gain ground. Like every other receiver, when they run backwards, you're like, oh no, watch out, here comes the defense rallying to the ball, and Tyreek Hill's just getting an angle to pick up more yak.
That looked like he had done a hamstring. Like that looked bad. It looked like he was done. And then it's like, it's just cramping.
Tyreek Hill has this Mike Evans type of thing to him. Like Mike Evans comes up injured a lot in things that seem to look bad, and then comes back in and is generally okay. Like they battle through some little things that it's like, oh no, is this it? And Tyreek Hill's done that for years. Like, I've got a little ankle here, we got a hamstring there, and it's like, uh-oh, if this guy blows a tire, this is trouble for the team.
Yeah, it feels like if you have a guy who we're talking about as like one of the most special athletes of all time, let alone in the NFL right now, it feels like, if you have a ridiculous high-end supercar Ferrari, like the thing needs to be constantly in maintenance because one slight thing off here or there and nothing works. And it doesn't, it's not going to start, let alone bomb 200 miles an hour down the racetrack. Like it feels like Tyreek Hill must be constantly in this state of, let's just make sure, keep everything working. Apparently we're going to have an IV today because the hamstring's saying no right now.
That's all it was cramping. It did look like, all right, what's this? They've got this looming matchup with the Kansas City Chiefs in a few weeks in Germany. It's Tyreek Hill against the Chiefs. It's going to be number one seed type of implications, supremacy in the AFC, all that stuff on the line. And he doesn't. If you're a Dolphins fan, you're like, all right.
That's also, I think,
don't get hurt.
Multiple weeks in a row where he's needed IVs for maybe I don't know what he's doing, but maybe the man needs to work on his hydration a little bit because I don't think even a guy like Tyreek Hill should be requiring IVs on a regular weekly basis.
Tua had a beautiful scramble drill touchdown to Jalen Waddle in there as well. And once again, the Dolphins rushing attack. Raheem Mostert going 17 carries for 115 yards. Imagine if Achane was in there, adding another $150 on 8 carries. Like he would if he wasn't injured. I saw a stat today. The Dolphins are averaging 100 yards more than the number 2 team in the NFL, which is clearly a record for the biggest differential in yardage. And Dolphins just looking dominant, and both sides of the ball, really, as we've been talking up Bryce Young because expectations have lowered and we saw some improvement from there, but the Dolphins put a lot of pressure on him and, actually cracked down on that Panthers offense after a slow start.
It is crazy. I mean, the Dolphins offense basically didn't do anything for, a quarter. And then they still put up 42, 400 plus yards. They spotted you a quarter of the game and still put up the kind of numbers that look like, a dominant outing by any other offense.
Yeah, it's really impressive.